Well, this is WFMI News 2 Chief Meteorologist Tim Buckley with you. It's a little bit closing in on 7 p.m. on this Thursday afternoon. Of course, we're talking all about Hurricane Helene, but specifically, we're going to focus on North Carolina and our Piedmont Triad area of the state. What are the threats we're facing? Where do we do with them? And how do you get prepared for tomorrow morning? We're issuing a News 2 Weather Impact Alert Day for a reason. As we head into tomorrow, the time frame of concern is especially 5 in the morning through about 2 in the afternoon. That's when there will be a couple of different weather threats that definitely have us concerned about this storm. Number one, we're going to have some more rainfall. We've already had quite a bit of it today, quite a bit of it this week as well. The rivers and creeks are pretty full. There will be another inch or two of rainfall on the way, which could cause some flash flooding issues during that time frame we talked about. Now, the winds will be an issue as well. For the first time this week, it'll start to get windy, and those wind gusts could pack a bit of a punch, and with the wet ground, it's not hard to imagine some power outages taking shape in our area. Tornadoes too. Not saying there'll be a lot of them, but there is that threat. I think we'll have a couple tornado warnings to track for you on Friday morning, not just in the Triad area, but across the whole state of North Carolina. So bottom line, what do you need to do? Be alert. Make sure you have your phones charged up, those devices ready to go in case you lose power. You want to be able to stay informed and check up on the weather throughout the day. Once we get past the early afternoon, things will start to improve quite a bit around here, and we'll be in much better shape with sunshine even coming out by the weekend. Now, as of 6 o'clock this afternoon, we're seeing big changes with the hurricane. It's now at a Category 4 strength. Can you believe that? Just yesterday, it was still a tropical storm. Now, 130 miles per hour. It is incredibly strong at this time. Pressure has been falling steadily as well. It's not only really strong, it's also moving very quickly. The motion here is north-northeast at 23 miles per hour. I know that doesn't sound very fast, but to put it in perspective, a typical hurricane usually moves about 8 to 12 miles per hour. This is about twice that. You can see the eye of the storm has really formed rapidly over the last couple of hours. This is Tampa Bay. There's Sarasota. Tampa's here. St. Pete right about there. They are lucking out that this is staying offshore by a little bit, but it does not mean they're out of the woods. The conditions there have been pretty tough as well. This is using radar. As it gets closer to land, of course, we can start to use radar again to sample the storm, see how high those winds are, and take a very close look at the eye wall. This is the structure of the storm here. You can see those heavy rain bands rotating around the center where there's rapidly sinking air. This is a powerful, major hurricane. Now, some live looks as of that 6 o'clock hour. This is in Palmetto, Florida, which is in that Tampa Bay area. They're doing okay, but it sure is rough on the water there in that particular marina. This gives you a better idea. Right there, kind of exposed in St. Petersburg, the winds are whipping around. You can see the bay is agitated as well. Overwashes spraying there too. Pretty typical conditions for a tropical storm or a hurricane. Keep in mind the storm center is about 150 miles away from St. Pete. The projected path, it is going up through the Big Bend part of Florida. Tallahassee is right about here. They're really at risk for some of the biggest impacts in the state of Florida from this system, but also anywhere on the eastern side of this system will be pretty tough, or will have tough conditions, I should say, with really high winds, power outage threats, you name it. There already were about 250,000 people in Florida without power as of this video. Going into Georgia, still a Category 2 hurricane even after midnight as we go into Friday morning. And then from there, it's going to kind of curve northward through Georgia, curling around western North Carolina and into Tennessee. But as we've been trying our best to stress over the last couple of days, this cone is extremely deceiving. The reason is it's only tracking the center of the storm. It's many hundred miles wide, so the impacts are going to extend far and wide across North and South Carolina and Georgia. So just because the storm is going out to the west does not mean we are out of the woods. Just look already, there's been all this rainfall well ahead of the storm. The North Carolina mountains and foothills have already been seeing flooding for a couple of days now. Why is that happening? Well, some of that moisture is getting pulled up from the hurricane. We can explain it this way using our water vapor tool. What this does is it tracks moisture throughout the atmosphere, kind of like an X-ray of your body. You're able to see things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to see. This is how the moisture is moving. We have a little upper level low pressure system over here that's digging, and it's encouraging wind like this to pull some of that tropical moisture northward. There's also a stationary front here, which is focusing all that rain right there in line with the North and South Carolina mountains. Unfortunately, they're extremely tall, so you're forcing that moisture to just rise, and then it gets heavier rain and makes more storms. So that's why the flooding threat is really high in the elevated areas of North Carolina. A gentle, steady rain for most of us going through the rest of our Thursday evening is likely. That's going to continue until around midnight or so. Not expecting too many flood problems across most of the Piedmont tonight, but it will just add to what's already in the ground, which makes us more susceptible to flooding going into tomorrow. One exception to this, look at all the rainfall that's been falling throughout the day. Allegheny County and Sparta, near Stone Mountain State Park in Wilkes County, right there including Wilkesboro proper, many inches of rain have fallen just throughout the day today. There have been flooding issues galore in that region, especially right along the Yadkin River. You can see elsewhere across the region just so much rainfall. 3.5 from Charlotte to Columbia, about 5 inches in Asheville. They've already seen over 8 inches of rain in just the last couple of days, with much more on the way. That is the big deal that they're facing. Much lower totals across the rest of the state. We all have a flood watch. It goes through tomorrow afternoon on Friday, running until about 6 o'clock or so. The flash flood risk is highest right here along the foothills and North Carolina mountains. That's through tonight and tomorrow morning. Throughout the day on Friday, the same areas are under the gun. For our Triad area, we have a lower risk of flash flooding, but not zero, a little bit higher over toward the foothills. That's the flood part of the storm. So where is that rain going? How does it progress throughout tonight and tomorrow? Here's your futurecast going through tonight. Steady, gentle rain for most of us. There is a really low risk still of a tornado warning or two. We'll be here to track it for you if need be throughout the early parts of the evening. Then we'll get a bit of a break. This is when we're waiting on the actual hurricane part of the storm. This would be 5 and 6 a.m. there. Here's 7, 8, and 9. This is when I start to get concerned for our part of the state. You can see these rain bands really intense with rainfall, very gusty winds, and some of them are a little bit squiggly, right? That indicates that some could be spinning into tornadoes. That's the concern for tomorrow morning, especially between about 8 a.m. and noon. Once we get past that time frame, notice how it starts to dry out a little bit. That's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And from there, we're pretty much good to go as far as tornado potential, and we get that sunshine to come back out. The wind threat is pretty concerning. We've been talking throughout the week of 35 to 45 mile per hour gusts for our area. It wouldn't shock me if there are a couple that are stronger than that, maybe a 50 mile per hour gust here or there. And with the wet ground, the rainfall, there are going to be power outages. There's just no way around it. The question, of course, is just how many are there going to be? And only time will tell, but you should be ready for it. The worst of the wind is going to be Friday morning. It'll start to get less windy for Friday afternoon, but still pretty breezy throughout the rest of the day until we get past 8 p.m. or so. There are tropical storm warnings all across South Carolina and for all of western North Carolina. We don't have those here in the Piedmont Triad, but we do have wind alerts. These are wind advisories until 6 o'clock on your Friday. So we have the flood threat to talk about. We are talking now about the winds, so we're ready for those two factors. What about everything else? If we take a closer view, this is that zoomed in view so you can see your hometowns. Throughout the rest of the night tonight, that steady rain kind of tapering off. We get a break, and then there are those powerful tropical rain bands 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. You can see how fast the winds are whipping around. Those could have a tornado concern with them. And like I said before, we're really improving by the end of the afternoon. This is that third risk I was mentioning, the tornado potential. It exists for all of North Carolina. The lowest risk is out to the west. It'll be harder to pop any out that way. But for the Triad, Charlotte, Raleigh, all of those Piedmont areas, there's at least a moderate risk of some tornadoes popping throughout the morning tomorrow. It's even higher as you get closer to the Atlantic Ocean. A lot of times those big bands move right in off the ocean. They have so much energy to them, and when they hit the land, they slow down a little bit with a little added friction, and that can spin up some quick tornadoes that really can cause some damage, of course. On a closer view of your futurecast, you notice those big rain bands move in, they move out, and then by the afternoon, we're in pretty good shape. You know, the rest of the storm doesn't go that far. It actually curls into parts of Tennessee. So when it's sitting over there, they are going to start to get part of that rainstorm. And the remnants of it will be there throughout most of the weekend. For us here locally, we're going to enjoy some pretty nice weather for Saturday. But by Sunday, some of that moisture could track back over us, giving us some scattered showers for Sunday into your Monday. I want to kind of summarize all this for you and break it down threat by threat throughout the different time frames. So if we're talking about flooding, when is that worst for our area? That should be in those morning hours. High winds, again, mostly for the morning hours on your Friday. An isolated tornado can't be ruled out at any time, even on our Thursday evening, but the biggest chance for that too would be on your Friday morning. We'll have to be alert for those power outages scattered across the area. Be ready for that. As far as the summary for you, wind gusts mostly in the 35 to 45 mile-per-hour range for several hours, the morning to the midday. Rain bands 1 to 2 inches. That seems likely for us, so make sure you're ready for power outages possibly. Some flash flooding can't be ruled out, and a couple tornadoes can't be ruled out across our area either. Be ready for all of those threats, and we'll certainly do our best to keep you informed throughout the day. Remember, you can watch us on your phone, you can watch us on your smart TV, on Roku, Fire Stick, or Apple TV. You can download WFMY+. We're going to have our weather graphics streaming all the time, and more of these videos to help you stay informed, including, of course, our live newscast. Nice weather settling in heading into Saturday with some sunshine. Stay safe. We'll have more updates on Helene.